But before I talk to you about Interfaith, I have some coalition business, which was my old job, but Josh, the current director of the coalition, is off working on that issue right now. So
could you move the podium back so that just if you
I can stand up if you want to.
No, you don't need to if we just move that a little bit.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Thanks. Okay, so the Homeless Coalition, my previous job, is an advocacy, education, and coordination of services agency. It has almost 50 member agencies who are all of the service providers for homeless people in the city of Cincinnati. A process that they developed over 20 years ago is called minimum standards. And what happened is there was a shelter that was not treating people well. The shelter has long since been out of business, but there was a shelter that was not treating people well. And so as a social service community, all of the agencies came together and said, let's come up with the bar that you need: fiscal responsibility, client grievances, civil rights protections for your clients, a certain level of cleanliness, a certain level of responsibility. And that's the minimum that we all agree that we're going to strive for. And that was called minimum standards. And the coalition would organize volunteers who were directors, case managers, frontline workers from the agencies who every 2 years go out and do peer review of each of the agencies to make sure that they're meeting that bar. And if an agency is not able to meet that bar, the coalition works with them to bring them up to that. It's not like a, we hate you, let's get rid of you. It's what can we do to make it better. There was an agency that was struggling with paperwork, and there's another agency in town that's really good with paperwork. So their director went in, shared their forms, and did training with the staff so that they would be able to, be up to standard. I'm not sure how long ago, but a few years ago, this money, in order to get city funding, FEMA money, or like emergency shelter grant money, in order to get certain pots of money, you had to be able to pass minimum standards. And the coalition, a representative from the city and a representative from the health department are the ones who go out and do these inspections. Within the last few days, the city has decided to take this process away from the Homeless Coalition and give it to the Continuum of Care. Now, IHN, in full disclosure, we receive Continuum of Care funding, and we are also a proud member of the Homeless Coalition. In my opinion, taking it away from the Homeless Coalition is a devastating idea. And the reason for that is the Continuum of Care, it's a funding process. It takes federal dollars, and it's a funding process. Not everyone who participates in minimum standards receives this funding, so those agencies will no longer do minimum standards. And when you're doing it to meet a funder's needs, it's different than the spirit in which it was originally conceived, which was let's all work together to make sure that we're holding each other accountable for these standards. So we're going to lose that peer base, and we're going to have it move more towards this is a bar you jump, this is a hurdle you jump to get funding. So that's my take on it. One of the reasons, unfortunately, it seems that council wanted to give this process to somebody else is because they want to put in something that says all shelters will discourage panhandling among their clients and have consequences for panhandling if one of their clients panhandles. Again, one of the challenges with this, in my opinion, panhandling is a legal activity. Like it or hate it, it is a legal activity. I will never be in a position as a shelter director where I deny food and shelter to somebody or their kids because they are participating in a legal activity. So I think that this was just another, it's just another way of taking out checks and balances and trying to politicize the social service process. Council is voting on it today at 2 o'clock. So if you have time and you want to go to that, there's still time to weigh in on this discussion. You do have to be there by 1:20 if you want to comment, though, so that's going to be kind of a tight time frame. On to IHN. Like I said, we are a family shelter, but we are, in that we provide shelter, we provide food, we provide the basic necessities for families. What makes us unique is that we are a network of 29 host congregations and 52 support congregations. So kind of a day in the life of our clients. They get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, or they get up earlier than that, as Elizabeth knows. She's the coordinator for Christ Church. They get up very early, they get on the bus, and they come to our day center, which is located in Lower Price Hill. At the day center, they're working with case managers, they're getting help finding employment, they're getting help finding housing, their glasses, health care, whatever they need to try and get back to self-sufficiency. Then at 5 o'clock, they get on the bus and they go to one of our host congregations. 2 congregations per night host, each one has 4 families at them. They're greeted at the door of the actual church or synagogue by volunteers. They receive a hot meal. There's volunteers to provide help with homework, activities for the kids, and then they actually sleep in the congregation that night. A lot of churches will convert Sunday school rooms, so each family gets their own private sleeping quarters. And then they wake up in the morning, eat some breakfast, get a bag lunch, and it's back to the day center. So we're a non-traditional model, but the one thing that we can provide our clients is all of this unconditional support from volunteers. And that does something to our clients, and that really helps restore them in a way that more traditional shelters, no offense. I think for the people,
we're friends, don't worry.
For the people who can work the IHN model, they get something from it that I think they maybe don't get at more traditional shelters. Another thing that I really like about IHN, I just have to tell a cute story. Yesterday, one of our congregations is Isaac Wise Temple. They're one of our founder congregations. And a boy from that just got bar mitzvahed in January. And his bar mitzvah project, because he was raised volunteering with IHN. Ever since he was a baby, he's played with IHN kids. So he was raised in this model. His parents always volunteered. He always volunteered. So when he was bar mitzvahed, he decided that what he wanted to do is take all of our families to Kings Island, because he loves Kings Island. So he's using his bar mitzvah money for that, but he took it one step further and went to Kings Island yesterday to make a PowerPoint presentation about IHN to try and get a discount so that he can also afford to give them enough money to buy water and treats while they're there. And so he's, in his little tie, giving his presentation. And it was really sweet, because this is a kid who probably never would have had a chance to meet homeless kids if not for the IHN model and if not for his congregation kind of putting their faith into action and hosting the families. So it's something that we just know that he's going to continue with that throughout his life, and he's looking out. And they're looking at giving him a discounted price, so we're still waiting to see how that goes. Yeah, I know. Last year we served 101 families, and that was 350 individuals. 65% of the people that we serve are under the age of 18. So we have a lot of kids, and 50% of them are under the age of 5. So we get babies and toddlers, lots and lots of babies and toddlers. Our average length of stay is 29 days, and just to clarify that, we don't kick people out. That's our average. So that's how we try to move them out as quickly as possible. Like Pat said, you're not doing anyone any favors keeping them in a shelter. The faster you can move them out, the better. And 87% of our families exit into transitional or permanent housing. So we're very, very proud of our track record. There's 2 trends that I've been noticing lately. I've been working with homeless individuals for almost 10 years, and the 2 trends I've noticed, one, at IHN, we have seen a great increase in the number of 2-parent families. We're one of the few shelters that take men and teenage boys and single fathers. We currently, 4 of our 12 families right now are 2-parent families, and that's been that way for the entire year.